Good morning. Today we're going to talk about using charcoal. We're going to have the opportunity to draw a sphere and a box in charcoal. So the first thing that you need to know about charcoal is there's different types of charcoal. We have this kind of round, soft, very, very soft. It's called vine charcoal. It could also be called willow charcoal. It's very, very soft. You're not going to be able to get a lot of detail with it, but it does work really well for kind of putting some overall value down. Then we have what's called compressed charcoal. This is going to be a little bit harder of a charcoal, and you can get really, really dark values with that compressed charcoal. Then we have a charcoal pencil, which is going to be great for putting in some details. If you desire some really small details, that's going to be the way to go. We also have what's called a kneaded eraser, and these come in little squares, like little bricks, and you want to manipulate them by pulling them in order to soften and kind of warm up that eraser, and I'll show you guys how to use that as well. So we're going to actually start by toning our paper with our vine charcoal. So we're going to put an overall value. You don't have to push very hard, and you don't have to cover the entire paper, but we're going to just put down an overall value, kind of a middle tone gray. I'm going to take a paper towel and actually kind of smear that to make it look nice and smooth. And that's going to just give me kind of a base value before I start my drawing. You guys can get in your paper, get to the edges a little bit more than what I did. So now I'm going to actually use my vine charcoal to draw in what I'm seeing. So I see a box. My perspective is a little different than what yours is because I'm standing to do my drawing here. So I'm going to start by drawing in my box. I have the flaps of the paper are kind of a nice detail that maybe I want to include. It's really kind of dark in here. I've got a little bit of a flap of paper over here. And then I have the sphere which sits on top of my box. So I need to make sure that in my drawing it looks like it's sitting on top of my box as well. So there we go. That works pretty well. Now, the objects I'm drawing are white, but they do have different values. I can see that the light is hitting the top of the box, so it's much lighter than the side, which appears to have a little bit more gray. So I'm going to even go in with my vine charcoal and darken in some of that side. If you're somebody who likes to smudge with your finger, charcoal is probably going to be a medium that you enjoy, because although I don't like when you smear with your finger with pencil, smear away with charcoal. So I've kind of started to block in some values. I might even go in with my compressed charcoal and start to look for really dark areas. And you're going to notice that the compressed charcoal doesn't seem to go on as smooth. It almost has kind of a waxier feeling to it. As you start to shade your sphere, think about some of those things that we talked about with the highlight and the shadow and the cast shadow from when we were drawing spheres with pencil. Get those values to smoothly transition from one to the next. And I do have a cast shadow, and actually I'm going to go in, I want that to be a little bit more detailed, so maybe I'm going to go in with my charcoal pencil. So I want to give you some time to be able to do this as well. The last thing I want to show you though is using your kneaded eraser. Everything I've done so far has been additive. I've added charcoal to my drawing, but you can also work subtractively with charcoal, which means take away the charcoal in order to create lighter areas. And that's where your kneaded eraser comes in. So what you're going to do is kind of pull it apart to soften it. And then using that really kind of soft part that I've created, you can dab out lighter areas or highlighted areas as well. And you can go back in and add more charcoal to those areas if you want. Maybe I want the top of my box to be lighter, since the top of the box is lighter than the table behind it. I can erase out some of this to make the top of my box lighter also. All right, so I don't want to take up more of your time. I want you guys to go ahead and practice working with charcoal.